My name is Lauren Paulus, and I am an immigration attorney and the owner of Paulus Immigration. Today I want to talk to you about Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, and the changes to that program. First we'll talk about the benefits of DACA, then we'll discuss the requirements to apply for DACA, and finally we'll talk about how you can begin preparing to submit your DACA application. So first, what are the benefits of DACA? The main benefit is that an individual in DACA status can remain in the United States without fear of deportation based solely on their unlawful presence in the United States. This doesn't mean that they can commit a crime or some other deportable offense and not be deported for it, but it does mean that their unlawful presence or having entered the United States without inspection is not a basis for deportation, and they can remain in the United States without fear. And then the second main benefit is that an individual in DACA status can also apply for employment authorization. Once employment authorization is granted, they will be given an employment authorization card and be allowed to work in the United States. They will also be allowed to apply for a Social Security number, which, depending on their state, could grant them other benefits, such as being allowed to apply for a driver's license and possibly being allowed to apply for student loans or scholarships to college. So what are the requirements to apply for DACA? The first requirement is that the individual had to have entered the United States before turning 16. They also had to have entered on or before January 1st, 2010, and have resided in the United States continuously since that time. Additionally, they had to have been out of status on June 15th, 2012. This means that even if they entered with a visa or some other lawful status, as long as their status had expired and they no longer had status on June 15th, 2012, they're still eligible to apply for DACA. And then the next thing is that the individual has to have either gotten a high school diploma, gotten a GED, or be currently enrolled in school. They could also have been honorably discharged from the U.S. Armed Forces or Coast Guard. And then finally, the individual must not have a felony, a serious misdemeanor, or 3 or more misdemeanors. If you have some sort of a criminal history and you're not sure if it precludes you from applying for DACA, I recommend that you seek the guidance of an immigration attorney to help you determine whether or not you're still eligible to apply. So third, how can you begin preparing to submit your DACA application? Mainly, you're going to want to begin by gathering the documentation necessary to prove to immigration services that you meet all of the requirements. First, you're going to want to gather proof of your identity. So that's usually in the form of a birth certificate or passport. Then you're going to want to show that you are either in school or have graduated, gotten your GED, or were honorably discharged from the military. You can do this by gathering your school transcripts, your diploma, or documentation showing that you're a GED graduate. You can also get a letter or some other documentation showing that you were honorably discharged from the armed forces. So then the next requirement, and the one that can become most tricky for people, is proving that you entered the United States before you turned 16 and that you have resided in the United States since January 1st, 2010. So to do that, you're going to want to look for official documentation showing that you were present in the United States. Some of the things that I recommend are school transcripts, medical records, bank account records, and other similar documentation. You'll want to find something that's official and that has your name and the date on it. And then to prove your continuous presence throughout that whole period of time, which is over 5 years now, I recommend to my clients that they gather documentation from every 3 months of each year. So for example, you have to prove that you were in the United States continuously since January 1st, 2010. So I would tell my clients, try and get something from January of 2010, then get something from April of 2010, then July of 2010, then in September of 2010, and then start again in 2011, and so on, so that you have about 4 different documents throughout the course of each year, and that's going to be from 2010 up until the present. And then some examples of documentation that you can get. I've already mentioned school transcripts, medical records, bank account records. Those are the most obvious. Sometimes people have to get creative because they don't have those records. So think about, did you apply for a library card? Did you go on a vacation and you have the ticket stubs? Things like that. If you're not sure if you can really get together all of the documentation to prove that you are continuously in the United States, I recommend that you meet with an attorney. We see this a lot with our clients, and I know that we've come up with a lot of creative ways to prove that an individual is in the U.S. For example, an attorney that I know recently told me that she had to go onto Facebook and help her client find proof that she was in the U.S. through Facebook because, for example, when you do a status update, it often pings your location. And so she was able to prove that her client was here just based on her status updates on Facebook. So it's very important to be able to prove continuous presence, but sometimes we can get a little bit creative in how we do that. And so finally, we've talked about the benefits, the requirements, and how you can prepare to apply for DACA. When can you apply? USCIS, or Immigration Services, will begin accepting applications on February 18th, 2015. So that, as of today, when I am giving this video, that is just in a few days. So if you are thinking about applying for DACA, I recommend that you meet with an attorney very soon and work with that attorney to develop a plan for your case. DACA is a huge benefit, and I hope that you and others you know who are eligible apply and take advantage of it. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me at my firm. The firm name, again, is Paulus Immigration, and my name is Lauren Paulus. You can reach us at 202-709-6439. You can also go on our website where we have more contact information and lots of resources for you as you dig deeper into your immigration case. Our website is www.paulusimmigration.com. Thank you, and I hope this was helpful.